Hello again, everybody. It's Miss Brenda, and we're going to do another summer reading. So, summer is coming up in less than a month. Our school year is pretty much over. So, I thought we could learn a little bit about the ocean. So, a lot of us like to go to the beach in the summer. I love to go to the beach, but we see that beautiful crystal blue water, and I don't know if you ever think, but what's really in there? So, we know that there's fish and other things, but I thought it would be kind of cool to learn about. So I'm going to share my screen and we are going to read about an ocean of animals. Here we go, an ocean of animals. So here we have some coral and we have a starfish. So full of life. Looking from shore, the ocean seems to just hold water, but it's bursting with animals. These animals live in different parts of the ocean or zones. So animals can live in different zones of the ocean. So what does that mean? I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. Okay, let me share my screen again, but to something different, just quick, so I can show you real quick what zones mean. Okay, so here are different zones of the ocean. So look at how deep the ocean goes. It goes all the way down here. Okay, so up here we have the sunlight zone. So that's when we see different animals like fish and whales and sea turtles and sharks and dolphins and coral and all that cool stuff. So it's pretty light, so the fish that are swimming in there can see. And then when we go deeper into the ocean, we enter the twilight zone. So that's when we see other things like octopus and squid and some other different fish. We go down further into the ocean, it gets darker and it gets colder. That's called the abyssopelagic zone. Don't know if I said that right. I think that's just the abyss, though. And then you see some other crazy looking fish and some other plants and other things. And then when you go deeper and deeper and deeper, that's the Hadal zone. That's pretty much the trenches, and that's where it's dark and very cold. And we don't really know too much about that area. But anyway, we're going to read about that. I just want to tell you that that's what zones meant, that there's different levels of the ocean. So it goes from shallow, light, and warm to deeper and colder and darker. Back to the story. Okay. Coastal zone. So coastal means that's where the land meets the water. Coastal animals often live in and out of the water, like this crab. Crabs scuttle on the beach and seabirds fly overhead. So yes, crabs do live in the ocean, but you might see crabs walking along the sand sometimes. That's where I've seen crabs. So they're on the coastal zone. They'll hang out on the sand and then they'll go into the water. The sunlight zone. The sunlight zone is the top layer of the ocean. Most of the world's fish live in this zone. Small fish munch on plants, and sharks eat the small fish. So look, we got a big old shark there. We got some big fish. We have some little fish. And we find them in the sunlight zone. Coral reefs also grow in the sunlight zone in shallow water. Millions of animals live on each reef. Sea anemones spend their lives clinging to one piece of coral. So this thing here is called a sea anemone. They can move, but a lot of times they cling to one piece of coral, like a rock kind of coral, and they live there. And a lot of fish make their home in sea anemones, and they swim through. It's so beautiful. Look at how cool that is, and all the colorful fish. Mammals also live in the sunlight zone. You might have seen one of these things before. I saw one of these and it was so cool. This is a manatee and they graze on sea grass. Sea otters dive and play in seaweed. Giant blue whales swim in the open ocean. Look at them. This is a manatee. They're kind of like sea cows. And the twilight zone. So that's when it gets darker. Do you see how dark the water is? The twilight zone starts about 660 feet deep. That's really, really deep. It gets very little sunlight. The dragonfish has lights on its body to lure prey to it. I think that's kind of scary. And then we go deeper and deeper and enter the dark zone. So it's even darker than the twilight zone. The dark zone starts about 3,300 feet deep. It's very dark and very cold. Tube worms cluster around thermal vents to stay warm. Unknown life. Okay, so this is the trenches that they're talking about. More than half of Earth is covered in very deep water. Very little has been explored, and who knows what animals scientists will find in the future. So, yeah, we still don't know really what's out there. And here's some fun facts. Let's just read them. Why not? If a sea star's arm breaks off, it can grow another one. That is so cool. I did not know that. Okay, this one. Animals like seals, beluga whales, and walruses live in cold waters near the North and South poles. They have a thick layer of fat called blubber, and that keeps them warm. So when we get cold, we wear coats and all of this to help us stay warm because we get really cold. But these animals, they like the cold because they have this thick skin like that on them, and it's called blubber. The whale shark is the world's largest shark. It gets about 45 feet long. Wow, that's really long. Sea otters eat shellfish, such as clams. They smash the shells open by hitting them against a rock. I also did not know that. To scare away predators, the porcupine fish sucks in water. Its body fills up to appear twice its normal size, and its spines pop out too. So that's a puffer fish. Puffer fish do that. They breathe in, and then their spikes come out, so they get really big and spiky. Kind of cool. I'm gonna stop sharing. So I hope you learned something about the ocean. I think it's so cool. So we learned about all the different zones in the ocean and some different sea animals. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, I hope you had fun. Hope you learned something and have a fantastic summer. Okay, bye friends.